Hey, what's up guys, welcome to another video on my channel. Now today I have the video that a lot of people have been waiting for, and that is the updated collection. As you can see, multiple shelves filled, some filled with pop figures. I think I'll do a separate video on the pop figures if you want, so most people are probably here for the actual comics themselves. Ignore the messes here, it's been Christmas so everything's all over the place. I'll sort it eventually. Yeah, probably not. But yeah, the first book that I have, which is the one over here, which isn't in the shelf because I'm currently reading it, and that is the Miles Morales Ultimate Spider-Man omnibus. If you want me to do a sort of overview on this book, so basically like show you the dust jacket, the cover underneath, what it contains, the artwork inside, just ask down below, or for any of the omnibus in this video. I don't mind doing it, I need some video ideas, and I'll get round to it. But yeah, the first shelf that we have is the new one that I've added recently. So this has Harley Quinn. So Harley Quinn, the New 52 run, so up until number 6. Then some like extras, so you have like Harley Quinn and her gang of Harleys, and Harley Quinn and Power Girl. You then have Harley Quinn Die Laughing and Harley Quinn Joker Loves Harley. You then have the Suicide Squad New 52 run, so 1 to 5, and then where it goes into, can't remember what that was called after, where it's new Suicide Squad 1 to 3. You then get into Supergirl, so you have Supergirl, who is Superwoman, Friends and Fugitives, and Bizarro Girl, and then you have the full New 52 run, 1 to 5. Actually, I think there might be number 6 that I still have to get. Some of these are owned by my sister, but she ran out of room on her shelf. So some of these I haven't even read, like the Harley Quinn and the Supergirl. Then we get into Superman, Son of Superman, and Trials of Superboy. If you haven't read these in Rebirth, let me try and get it out. These are amazing Superman reads. Most time I wouldn't even read an ongoing Superman series, as I just maybe couldn't get into it properly. And then you also have the other one, which are these three, which is the Action Comics. So the first one follows him taking on Doomsday, basically the effect that it has on Lois and their son. Then get into Wonder Woman, so Wonder Woman Blood, Wonder Woman Lies, Wonder Woman Year 1. I enjoyed Year 1, wasn't really the biggest fan of the Lies. Then some more Wonder Woman, Why the Last Man. I've wanted to upgrade that to the deluxe editions. You then have all new Inhumans. Been meaning to give these a read. And then Uncanny Inhumans. Been also meaning to give these a read and just find out more about the characters. All new Wolverine, I actually really enjoyed. Surprised, I wasn't actually sure if I would. It sort of falls into the trope of that there was an event literally like 2 volumes in, and then you have the unbeatable Squirrel Girl. We then get down to my next DC shelf. So on this DC shelf it includes Green Lantern up until about here, then you go into The Flash, then into Justice League, then into Green Arrow, then an Arrow the Dark Archer story, Aquaman, Earth 2, Superman, and then Superman sort of crossovers with Batman, Watchmen, which if you haven't read, it's sort of based in everyone's collection. Then have Green Arrow, The Longbow Hunters, and then Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire. I've heard great things about the Longbow Hunters. I read it and I thought it was okay. Didn't think it was anything spectacular. I really enjoyed this run here, Green Arrow by Jeff Lemire. The art in this, if you don't know Andre Sorrentino, he's done some awesome work. He's done this series. He's done Old Man Logan. He's done some of the Dark Vortex, which is in the all new X-Men. His art is just the way that he lays out pages. It's just awesome. Like there's just a flow to it, or like action. He really pinpoints it well. If you haven't read or if you haven't seen any of his art, check it out. But yeah, let's just get a bit more in depth here. So you have Green Lantern Rebirth, Green Lantern No Fear, Green Lantern Revenge of the Green Lanterns, Green Lantern Wanted Hal Jordan, and Green Lantern The Sinestro Corpse War. I know after that then it goes into, what is it? I think it's the Red Lantern Corps, not 100% sure. We then have the end of the run, which is Sinestro, Revenge of the Black Hand, and the end. If you want, you can sort of jump in here and just get that chunk if you don't want to go through all of this, but it maybe is smart if you sort of go back from the beginning of the run. I still thoroughly enjoyed these three without even having to go back and read these. Green Lantern Rebirth. If you're trying to read from the beginning and you're sort of a new reader, I would sort of suggest maybe skipping this book, as it can get a bit convoluted and confusing. Sort of same with the Flash Rebirth, as there is a lot. Luckily I went into this with the sort of knowledge of what happened beforehand. If you're a new reader, it can confuse you. So then my recommendation would be to start from No Fear if you really want to. But it is up to you. If you just want to have it to like have the complete collection, then I understand. But yeah, then we get into The Flash by Grant Morrison and Mark Miller. So this is like a bunch of sort of Wally West's Fastest Moment, where like he outraces death, he outraces a teleport, everything like that. It's sick. That's probably not going to go in actually, so I'm going to have to leave that out and put that in later. You have The Flash by Jeff Johns 1 and 2, also following Wally West. The Flash Rebirth. Once again, you can sort of skip it. I enjoyed it anyway. First sort of Flash book that I picked up. Thoroughly enjoyed that. You then have Flashpoint, which is another cool event sort of thing. Like if you haven't heard of it, where you basically have like Aquaman going up against Wonder Woman in a war against it. Batman is not Bruce Wayne, it's his father. Cool things like that. It's just a class story. You then have The Flash in Rebirth. So Move Forward, Rogue's Resolution, Guerrilla Warfare, and Reverse. You then have Justice League, Origin, Villain's Journey, and Throne of Atlantis. Green Arrow, if you want a good Green Arrow origin, and if you don't really want to spend the money for something like this, there is an origin for him in here. But yeah, this is normally a good shout, as I believe I got this for like 11-12 euro, and you can probably get it for cheaper. But yeah, another good one if you want to get into the character of the Aquaman Volume 1, The Trench is also class. Earth 2, The Gathering. So basically alternate characters, so like you have Jay Garrick, Alan Scott, you have like other versions of Batman, Wonder Woman throughout this story, Hawk Girl, another version of her. But yeah, it's just very interesting and fun to read, like an alternate world. So yeah, pick it up if you're interested. Then All-Star Superman, you've probably heard so much about that. So yeah, let me get this shelf tidied up, and then we'll move on to another shelf and have a look what other goodies we have to show. Next shelf we have is this sort of miscellaneous shelf. So it sort of goes like miscellaneous here. So you have image here of The Walking Dead. Here's Negan. You then get some Assassin's Creed books from Rick and Morty and Doctor Who. They're all from Titan Comics. You then have Doom Patrol, which is Young Animals, which is an imprint of DC. You then have Tokyo Ghost, which is Image, Chew, and Outcast. I want to continue Outcast. That's an awesome horror series. Witches, which I believe is also coming back. Then have Lucifer Cold Heaven, which is Vertigo, and then Preacher, book 1 to 4, which is also Vertigo, and then Scalped. This is like a super fucked up but amazing series. If you haven't read it, Preacher, it's awesome. You then have Injustice, Year 1, Volume 1 and 2, Year 2, Volume 1 and 2, and Year 3, Volume 1 and 2. Just gonna pull out a random one here, but yeah, this series is awesome. If you haven't played the game, you can just read the series. It's You then have Swamp Thing by Scott Snyder, the deluxe edition. The art in this is also spectacular. Like, that's the sort of thing that you're getting into in here, and it's awesome. And then throughout, like, instead of the normal black panel dividers, it's sort of this sort of pattern. Looks amazing. And then The Punisher by Garth Ennis and Steve Dillon. The same creative team of this, but on the character of Punisher, and that's the omnibus. So yeah, can't wait to jump into that series, but I just need to finish that book first. But yeah, that's been this shelf. This is more of a miscellaneous, not really sure. Like, it has a bit of DC, a bit of Image, a bit of Vertigo, Marvel. Yeah, it's just sort of the miss and match shelf where I don't know where to put anything. It's sort of the same like that, where you have DC and Marvel. But yeah, let's move on to the next shelf. Next up we have our Marvel shelf, and that is here on the left we have Annihilation Conquest Omnibus. I'm always on the lookout for Annihilation, but I know I'm probably never going to get it, as yeah, it's one of those books that went out of print. They reprinted it and it went out of print super quickly. You then have Star Wars Darth Vader 1 and 2. Recently got this one for Christmas, so I've read that one, but still need to jump into that one. Then have Inhumans vs X-Men, Uncanny Avengers by Remender, and then Ultimate Comics Captain America. This, if you haven't read it, is awesome. It basically involves like a Captain America from the Vietnam War coming back, and then basically comparing their ideologies. It's sick, and it's written by Jason Aaron. If you haven't read anything by Jason Aaron, he's an awesome writer. Captain Marvel by Jim Starlin. Starlin? Yeah, not Stalin. You then have Groot. If you haven't read this book is just so cute and amazing. Basically just like a fun Groot going into space and making like friends with a bunch of misfits. I believe in that. Does it have his origin with Rocket? Can't quite remember, but it's just a fun read. Like, then have World War Hulk, Daredevil by Mark Waid. Man Without Fear is an awesome story, very similar to sort of season 1 of Daredevil. You then have Daredevil by Mark Waid, Venom: The Land Where Killers Dwell, which I currently have collected in a book down there, which I'll show you in a minute. Then have Civil War. Civil War is good, but it falls into the of the sort of events where like it builds up, and then a sort of weak ending. You then have Wolverine Old Man Logan. This is a sick book. Same with these, like, cause like I said earlier, because of the art by the artist, it's awesome. I mean, I enjoyed 0, 1, and then 2 sort of lost me a bit. I may have to jump back into that series and have a look. You then have the complete Superior Spider-Man run. If you know anything about this channel, you'll know that this was the first run that I ever completed. So 1 to 6. I may upgrade that into hardback just because of how near and dear, but I'll still keep the trade just because. You then have Deadpool 1 to 7. I think there's also 8, can't quite remember, but I believe I've completed that run, but I'd probably have to triple check that. But yeah, this is a pretty cool shelf. If there's any books that you want to like, I could do an in-depth and sort of Annihilation Conquest, like the same that I said about that book, so like showing the dust jacket, what's underneath, what's it contain. But yeah, let's move on to the shelves below. So we now move on to my Batman shelves. This is all Batman Detective Comics all on one shelf. I know there is some other Batman books dotted around, but I only have so much here, so I've tried to collect all my Batman books onto one shelf. So the first one, which is a one that should be in basically everyone's collection, is Batman The Killing Joke by Alan Moore. I then have some books here that are still wrapped, so like All-Star Batman, Batman Earth 1, The Dark Knight. I've heard good things about this run, but then I don't know, I'll give it a go. Like, the art by Finch is awesome. You then have Batman Year 1, which should basically be in everyone's collection. Long Halloween, The Dark Knight Returns. So I've read that one, and that one. This one I'm gonna have to make myself read, as the art in this just looks terrible. So I'll probably have to get round to that one day and just try and ignore the art. We then have Batman Nightfall. This book, I'll have to say, is probably one of my favourites out of the original reads, just because there's so much. I would much prefer this over The Dark Knight Returns. I know a lot of people would maybe judge me on that, but just the whole way, sorry that the camera keeps shaking, I have this weird thing where my hands are always shaking. I'm trying to hold it to the best of my ability, and hopefully, I believe this phone has sort of stabilization thing, but we'll find out when I do the edit. I think it's because I'm leaning against my leg and my leg's also shaking. But yeah, basically this has Bane basically sending a bunch of villains after Batman and it exhausting Batman, and then obviously so his origin is Bane's origin is awesome. Another book that maybe not many people would have in their collection but I enjoyed is Batman by Brian K. Vaughan. Brian K. Vaughan was the person that worked on Y the Last Man. Then have Batman Hush. This may be another one that people won't have, but if you sort of have this one, the Black Mirror, you may also need this one, as it's Batman Battle for the Cowl. So you basically have the likes of Tim Drake, Jason Todd and Dick Grayson all fighting for the mantle of Batman. It's just a cool, it's short and to the point, but it's also awesome. Batman Black Mirror. These two books here, these three I haven't read, so don't ask me anything about them, I don't have a clue. Then have Batman the New 52 run 1 to 10. If you haven't heard anything about this, you've obviously been living under a rock. Then have Batman I Am Gotham and Batman I Am Suicide. I believe I read up until that. I then just have to continue on to I Am Bane. Then have the deluxe edition of Detective Comics. These stories are awesome. So yeah, if you want a good Batman thing in the Rebirth, I would recommend Detective Comics over Batman. I believe Batman gets better, but I personally enjoy Detective Comics more than Batman. But yeah, let's move on to the shelf that you always see in the background in my videos, and then I'll be able to show you what's actually on that shelf, even though you've probably seen it before. We now move on to my background shelf, which is used in most of my videos, as it's sort of at a height where it's close to the ground and I can sort of set up my tripod to face it well. But yeah, we have the likes of Guardians of the Galaxy by Abnett. Absolutely loved this omnibus that it could come out. It's a bit wedged on this shelf, but yeah, it has the likes of Groot, Gamora, Star-Lord, Rocket. Then on the back it has an awesome thing with Drax, Gamora, Star-Lord, Warlock. I think that's Warlock. I haven't read this in a while actually. But yeah, that's an awesome omnibus. Then we have Road to the War of Kings and War of Kings. Still have to get the War of Kings Aftermath. I believe that's now out of print. But yeah, I enjoyed this run. Basically it involves the X-Men, the Inhumans, the Guardians of the Galaxy, the Kree. Face a Kree war and who decides to be king or who gets to be king. It's mad, so that's why it's sort of on this shelf with X-Men, as X-Men lead into that, and you have obviously the Guardians. So it sort of fit well that I was able to get all of these on the shelf. You then have All New X-Men by Grant Morrison, Uncanny X-Men by Claremont #1. As you can see, haven't actually got round to reading this. As you can see, it is still in the film. So yeah, still have to get round to reading that. You may actually see a theme. There's a lot of books on the shelf that I still have to get round to reading, or that's still actually in its cover. Then have Uncanny X-Men, still need to get volume 2. If I get volume 2, this will be fobbed off to another shelf, and then it's just all X-Men and Cosmic. You then have All New X-Men 1 to 4. In this it even goes into some of the Cosmic, and I believe it's this volume 3, and volume 4 it goes into the Black Vortex event, and it also has the trial of Jean Grey, and in that story it's basically where they're trying to convict the young Jean Grey of what the future Jean Grey did with the whole Phoenix Force. So it sort of leads into some of the things that would have happened in these books. So like you have the Guardian and you have the Kree and you have Star-Lord's father, that sort of thing in these. So that's why I sort of have them on the same. I might actually pick up the Black Vortex event, as I enjoyed what I did and it was amazing art by the guy that I was talking about that worked on this book. But yeah, and then at the end you have Civil War 2 by Bendis. It also has the same trope that number 1 had, where it's like very good, great build up base, you want a mutant that can predict the future. I think it just sort of ends abruptly, that's just my only issue with it. But yeah, that has been that shelf. If you want any overviews of any of these omnibus, just ask and I'll have like basically what it looks like under the dust jacket, what the dust jacket, what it contains, and show you a bit of art in the inside. And if I read it, I'll go through any of the stories that I enjoyed in it, or if it's worth picking up or not worth picking up. So yeah, while my hand's having a fucking spasm, I'm now going to move on to the next shelf. Now the next shelf that we have is sort of street level New York characters up until about here, and then Thor and Deadpool and the X-Men decide to come in. So the first book that we have is Daredevil by Stan Lee Volume 1, Daredevil End of Days by Bendis. I still have to get Bendis's run, but yeah, this is a really cool story, sort of like how Daredevil died and like his will and testament, and Ben Urich trying to figure out like who killed him and why he's gone and everything like that. Then have Daredevil, The Man Without Fear 1 and 2 by Brubaker. This is a really cool run. Basically starts out where it follows on from Bendis' run, so it starts out where he's in prison and him basically trying to escape prison, and it's awesome, and him basically trying to be good, and then he just basically snaps and it's awesome. Then have The Amazing Spider-Man by Stan Lee, which is also the same with the Cockrum where it's still sealed. I may actually leave some of these sealed, as like the sort of Cockrum run or the Stan Lee run may go for a bit of money in the future, but a man can hope. We then have The Superior Foes of Spider-Man by Spencer, and then have Hawkeye by Fraction. Still need to read these two as well. Then have Thor, God of Thunder 1 and 2, and Thor, which is the female Thor. Not going to say who it is, just in case you don't know who it is. But as you can see, these are all still film wrapped. I got halfway through God of Thunder, then it was in my bag going to work, spilt water on it, or like my water leaked in my bag, ruined the dust jacket. So yeah, basically had to buy a new one as I couldn't really put it back on the shelf with just like the cover underneath, where it's like the art that follows over, as then it would have annoyed me if I got number 2 and it doesn't really suit uniform on the shelf. We then have The Astonishing X-Men by Whedon number 1. Remember, I was reading some of this when I was doing some extras work for the show Krypton on Sci-Fi. If you've read that, I did actually do some extra work for that TV show. So yeah, I was in it for one episode. It was down in Belfast. I live in Dublin, so it was like a 2-hour drive there. I finished work at 9, then had to be up there to start work at 6, and didn't finish until about 7, 8 at night. So I was bollocks and didn't turn up for the actual rehearsal. You probably wouldn't have seen me, as I was more just used for green screen just to fill up the theatre in the first scene. If you've watched the series, you probably know where it's basically like where they're being accused of liars and one of the main characters gets shot or something. If you know the show, we can talk about it below. But yeah, we then have Deadpool, the minibus 1 and 2. Read the first one, still have to read the second one. But yeah, I enjoyed the first one, just some fun little reads. And now let's move on to the next two shelves. We now have another DC shelf right under the previous Batman shelf. We have Batman Unwrapped, Death of the Family, just as I loved Capullo's art here. So I wanted a sort of unwrapped version, as I love the sort of sketchy, and just wanted to have another basically book of artwork that if I'm reading it I can admire the artwork as well. We then have Superman Secret Origin by Jeff Johns, the deluxe edition. Sorry, that's pocket. You then have Superman Unchained by Snyder and art by Jim Lee. the art in this, there's like one giant double spread page and it looks amazing. It is just, oh, if you've read the book you know what I mean, and it's awesome. Then have the 52 Omnibus by Jeff Johns, Grant Morrison, Greg Rucka, Mark Waid and Keith Griffin. You then have Gotham Central, which is by Bendis and Rucka. You then have The Flash Rebirth Deluxe Edition 1 and 2, DC Universe Rebirth the Deluxe Edition, so basically the event that started off the Rebirth. We then got the Batman, The Flash, the Button Deluxe Edition, Justice League vs Suicide Squad, Superman Reborn, Titans, The Lazarus Contract. I enjoyed this, other than the last Prelude issue, which is the Deathstroke one, as I tried reading the Deathstroke, but I gave it to one of my friends as I wasn't really a big fan of the writing. It seemed all over the place and I didn't have a fucking clue what was going on. Then I have Superman Action Comics #1, still haven't read that, but I'll give it a go. And you have Superman The Final Days of Superman. And then this one at the end is Justice League The Dark Side Saga Omnibus by Jeff Johns. So you have all of the main characters. Most of them become gods in this series. Like, all of them become gods. Like, you have God of Speed, God of War, God of Knowledge, everything like that. So yeah, it's a sort of thin-ish omnibus. But yeah, it's really good, really enjoyed it. You have the likes of Darkseid and the Anti-Monitor and Bertha and Dr. Miracle, Miracle Man and things like that. Then the final shelf we have over here is it's Marvel up until here, then DC, then manga. The first book that we have is All New, All Different Avengers by Waid. I thought it was alright, not really the best. Why I got it in hardback, cannot remember, but I think it was actually cheap or it was on a sale or something, so I decided to pick it up. Then I have Superman Kraven's Last Hunt, Venom, which collects from like 1997 to 1998. You then have Venom by Rick Remender 1-2. Read that, it's been enjoyable so far. You then have Venom by Colin Bunn, the complete collection. Venom by Daniel Way, the complete collection. Then have Amazing Spider-Man Venom Inc. So that's trying to like fix the whole Venom villains and things like that. Then I have Captain America The Winter Soldier, Captain America Red Menace, and Captain America The Death of Captain America. Then I have Black Widow, The Finely Woven Thread. My sister was actually in the middle of reading that, but then she ran out of room on her shelf. Then have Batman Beyond Brave New World, Batman Beyond Escaping the Grave, Batman Beyond Rise of the Demon, and Batman Beyond The Long Payback. You then have Death Note Black Edition 1 and 2, Attack on Titan, and Naruto the 3-in-1. May actually continue Naruto, really enjoyed it. And then these other two I've already watched the anime, so I may not continue the mangas for them, but I may continue the manga for Naruto. But yeah, that is the complete. What's left to show is the Mike Mignola Hellboy Deluxe, the Library Edition 1 and 2. The other one is still sealed, but this one, it's bloody massive, like, compared to any other book. Let me get out sort of average size of a book here. Convenience. So yeah, just to put it into perspective, that's how large these are. Like, that's how much extra is on it. So these things are thick and massive. As you can see, also they stay open really well. Like, yeah, lovely artwork, and then you have like the black bar around the edge, so it's not like you're gonna have it where, let's say, you're reading the book and then the words are almost into here, so if you're reading it you're almost trying to like pull it out. Like, you're not gonna have any issues like that with these books. So I've had it a couple of times, or let's say if you have this sort of overlap, the words are sort of here, you're trying to bend it around, you'll know what I mean. But yeah, basically these I still have to get into, but I've heard great things about Hellboy. I know there's a new Hellboy coming out, which involves the guy from Stranger Things, Hopkins I think it is. But yeah, basically that has been my completed collection. If you want, I'll do a separate video on my pop figures. But yeah, this has been my collection complete. As you see, I do still actually have shelves with pop figures. I'll do them on another day. But yeah, that has been the completed collection. Hope you've enjoyed this video, and peace.